All right, it's Dean again, getting ready for Georgia Vanderbilt, and it's going to be homecoming. And one of the things that typically happens during games like this is folks come for the beginning of the game, and then by the half, they kind of check out. I saw that this past week against Auburn, and I've got to tell you that there's going to come a time in this season when Georgia's going to really need its fans. And it's completely up to the person who holds the ticket, whether they boo, whether they come late, whether they leave early, whether they stay the whole time. But I I think what folks are forgetting who are, you know, it's very specifically, I'm talking about the students. And what the students I think are failing to get because they've never seen this bad is that, Georgia isn't always just going to blow everybody out. And there cannot just be this expectation that you're going to be at the game for an hour and a half. You get to go party before the game, and then you get the party afterwards. The game is a 3-hour game. And if you're leaving early and you're not going anywhere, you live in town, what are you doing? Like, why are you checking out so early? There's only 6 home games in a year. You should appreciate what you've got now in the third and fourth quarter. I get that, but Georgia played 3 games now in this season. So the season's half gone in terms of the home games. And we're watching folks just check out after Georgia gets like a 2 touchdown lead. I mean, it is a person's prerogative to do with their ticket whatever they want, but there are ramifications from that. And when the game isn't over and you've got half the student section, specifically the Greeks, who are checked out because I guess they got something better to do, this is the reason why the university started taking tickets away from the students. Y'all don't stick around for the games. And they're going to keep taking tickets away from you because they don't make any real money on y'all for these tickets. And when you don't stick around, they're definitely not going to keep giving you, uh, tickets so that you can just leave early. The crowd matters so much at these games. I did not think. I mean, Kirby's got to say what he said this weekend or on Monday about, hey, the crowd was great. It was a good crowd. I've seen that crowd way crazier than that. Like that wasn't even close to what I've seen in my time covering Georgia. When you think about 2007 Auburn, when you think about 2013 LSU, when you think about last year with Arkansas, the Kentucky game a season ago, there's any number of games, South Carolina in 2013. I mean, Sanford is much, much more intimidating to play in now than it was in the past. A lot of the credit of that goes to the students. They've been great, but now the students are just checking out. It's not good enough. Make sure you're picking up DAWGSTRUCTION, 80 pages of the dogs from a season ago, some awesome games. I think if Georgia's up, 28 to nothing at the half and people are leaving, it's an understandable thing. If you pick up the book today, you can email me. You'll get your free Red Zone shirt from our friends on Clayton Street in Athens. Make sure you're doing that immediately. Email me immediately, or I'll send the book out and it won't have your shirt. But Georgia was up 14 nothing, and they were taking a second or two to get going. And when I came out of the half, the momentum was not there. I think Georgia got the ball right off the half. I'm trying to remember. Um, but, you know, there was no real crowd presence in any way. And that happens a lot. That's a common thing in sports where you come out after the half and it's not what it was, but it was 14 nothing. And Georgia had a 21-3 lead going into the fourth, only after Stetson ripped off that 64-yard play in 9 seconds or 11 seconds in the fourth quarter. Was this game really totally out of it? Yes, Auburn couldn't score, but um, I think I lecture y'all a lot about this stuff. And the truth is that there are only 6 Saturday games a year in Athens, and you really only get one rivalry game about a year. In this case, you get two because you've got Georgia Tech. You also have the big game against Tennessee. But I know Auburn is a huge social game during just weekend wise. It's one of the biggest, if not, honestly, it's the largest, I think, social game of the year. I think South Carolina is a big deal in that regard. Maybe Tennessee, but there are a lot of crossovers with Georgia Auburn. But one thing Ryan was talking about week one, I guess it was, with Sanford, or the bars are going to be there. I mean, downtown Athens is not getting picked up and moved somewhere. You know, your apartment or wherever the party is, it's going to be there. Like nothing's changing because you stay at the game until 7. Like you don't need a nap after the game. You're 20. It's cool. For the folks who are going back home, you know, I think that's a different conversation because a lot of these folks are driving hours from home, and there's not a lot of hotels in Athens. And people, when they want to leave the game, they're just going to leave the game. They're driving. Even if you're driving to Atlanta, I've seen that. But it's not it's not the fans. It's the students. It's the students, and um they are the most energy effective people in the stadium. When you talk about where the energy comes from, it typically comes from that corner where the band is, specifically because it's the band. And those are the most active students, the ones that are right around the band. The group in the end zone, they don't do a bad job either. Now, Auburn didn't bring a lot of fans. The 600 level was not, you know, full. I mean, this is what's happening anymore is folks aren't traveling. They're not the away teams are not going away anymore. Georgia folks are, but they're kind of the anomaly, I'm afraid. Um, and I want to stress again how important the crowd is. Here's the reason why. Auburn had 10 penalties, okay, in this game. In the first down, excuse me, first quarter, they had false start on their first drive, false start on their second drive, false start on their third drive, and they did not have a fourth drive. No, they did, and that was a holding penalty. Auburn had in the first quarter alone 6 penalties. Let's see, one, two, three, four. Four were pre-snap penalties. That means the crowd, which was not at its peak, this was not peak Sanford Stadium, like, hey, this is a scary place to play. That's not what that was Saturday. This was, hey, we're coming to watch Georgia whip Auburn's ass. That's not the same thing. There was no fear from the stadium that Georgia would lose. And that's part of what's happening here is there's an expectation from Georgia's crowd, specifically the students, that Georgia's just going to run through everybody all the time. And I get being spoiled. This team, this program, they have spoiled y'all, and it's understandable. But anybody, I'm saying this in the nicest way possible. The home crowd matters a ton, and that Georgia has played as well as it has from 2017 till today and lost one game. And that has not really been, I can't think of a ton of super competitive games in that time. Certainly none last year. Um, doesn't mean there won't be, and doesn't mean you can't take full advantage of it. Last year, the blowout over UAB, the blowout over South Carolina, the blowout over Arkansas. Then they went on the road, and then the tight fight with Kentucky, and then the blowout over Missouri, the blowout over Charleston Southern, and then that was the last game of the year. But I'll tell you right now, and this sounds stupid, if you didn't stay for the whole Charleston Southern game, and this is an anomaly, If you did not stay for the whole Charleston Southern game, you really missed out on a special afternoon at Sanford. You missed out on a special time. And I'm just here to tell you, having been through this for tons of years, there are only so many weekends in Athens. And it is cool if you get to the bar at 10:30 versus, you know, 9:30. I mean, and there's nothing stopping you from getting there at 9:30 if you still stay at the game until 7. Like if you're going home to change or whatever, that's your deal. That's fine. But it just the there is going to come a time where everyone is going to have to stay for these games. Georgia's not going to blow everybody out all the time. That Tennessee game when it comes up, that is going to be the real deal, I think. And that's not going to just be decided in the first half, it doesn't feel like. So you have been warned, you have been lectured, and that's all I've got to say about that.